Auteur Theory originated during the 1950s by French film directors such as Francis Truffaut, who was a French film director, screenwriter, producer, actor, film critic, as well as one of the founders of the New French Wave. Truffaut had a film career lasting over 25 years and still remembers an icon of the French film industry, having worked on over 25 films. The auteur theory identifies similarities between directors' films, giving them a certain style that you can expect when watching a film. This includes specifics such as character arcs, themes, shots, music, and location. In other words, the director is the author of the film. An example of this is Quentin Tarantino, as key features of his work use pop culture references and recognizable mixtures of humor, violence, and complete madness among most of his films. So the auteur theory is seeing a film in a certain style and atmosphere due to it being directed by a certain person. However, some people argue that the entire film couldn't have been created without the help of the rest of the team. So surely the auteur theory can't exist, as it is the editors, camera operators, and many other people who make the film. Yet, people still expect a film to have a specific feel because of the directors such as Tim Burton or Alfred Hitchcock. Mise-en-Scene. The mise-en-scene is a French phrase and essentially means what's in the frame. The key aspect of the mise-en-scene are set design, lighting, costume, makeup, acting, and the shot itself. All of these features make up the frame and give something to it that the audience will take away. The design of the set will create the atmosphere and the general feeling for the viewer, as well as draw the attention to a specific point or character, like in Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. The lighting is used for showing the feeling of the situation or foreshadowing something that has to come, as the dark low-lit shot implies that something bad is occurring, or that the situation is not good. This is usually seen in thrillers or horrors like Fede Alvarez's 2016 Don't Breathe. As the main characters run into the basement to escape through the cellar door, they realize it is locked, and the antagonist is stood in the doorway blocking it from them. Seeing the antagonist blocking the door, it was really creepy, as the light from above him almost indicates that's where hope is, but it's unreachable. However, well-lit shots usually indicate a happy atmosphere and no real danger, and this is most obvious in children's films such as Up, How to Train Your Dragon, and Aladdin, as the main characters achieve their goal or overcome an obstacle. The makeup and acting are fairly simple during the mise-en-scene, as it is usually the antagonists who are very pale with darkened eyes, as Lauren Clark discusses in her articles, Why Are Albinos Always Cast as Villains? I agree with most of her points, as she states the pale skin is usually seen as powerful, but also refers to being evil and death, as they resemble vampires like Nosferatu or zombies. However, for the protagonists, there has been a change in recent years, as they used to be portrayed as clean-cut good guys who are usually very handsome, well-dressed, and brave throughout most of the film, such as classic James Bond and Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible. But recently, the protagonists look quite average and are not heroic or brave until the overcome of the main obstacle that has been leading up in the film, such as Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon and Harry Potter. Finally, the shot paired with the actor is what will give depth to the scene, showing you the power of the character, the emotion of the shot, and the point of focus in the frame. A good example of this is in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park, as the audience has not seen the T-Rex by this point, and as the cast realise the glass of water is moving, our attention is constantly focused to the glass of water by the use of the close-up, and then the boy's face and his expression showing fear while still in a close-up. These are all factors that go into the shot and more depth, the frame, and this is what draws the emotion from the viewer, creating tension and atmosphere during the film. Narrative structure. The narrative structure consists of 2 points of the content and the structure used to tell a story and plot. The story relates to the materials of dramatic action as they unfold in chronological order. However, the plot relates to how the story is told and the form of storytelling. When describing the story of a film, you need to ask, where is the story set? What events start the story? Who are the main characters? What conflicts do they face and what is at stake? What happens to the characters as they face this conflict? What is the outcome of this conflict? And finally, what is the ultimate impact on the characters? So let's do this for Star Wars. What event starts the story? This would be when the Rebel ship is fleeing the Empire's Imperial Star Destroyer with the plans to the Death Star that get placed in the robotic unit R2-D2 that soon gets picked up by the story protagonist Luke Skywalker. Who are the main characters? Well, this would be the already introduced Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo. What conflicts do they face? And what are the stakes? Well, throughout the film, our heroes face many problems, being the Sand People, the death of Luke's aunt and uncle, the Cantina conflict, Leia having to give up the rebel base, getting captured by the Empire, escaping the trash compactor, having to escape the Empire, the TIE fighter chase, and obviously blowing up the Death Star. But the stakes vary during each of these conflicts, with the main ones being Leia giving up the rebel base, getting captured by the Empire, and having to blow up the Death Star, of course, as our heroes are in real danger during these specific conflicts, and have the entire galaxy depending on them. What happens to the characters as they face these conflicts? Well, as each of our heroes are put into the situation, we see their characters develop because of how they deal with the situation. Leia standing up for the rebellion, as she puts her home planet at risk, tells us that she is a strong leader and doesn't back down. But we also see the regret when her plan doesn't work, which still makes her somewhat relatable. When the heroes have to fight their way through the Death Star, you can tell that they don't know what they're doing or where they're going, and they make up the plan as they go, which again makes them seem relatable because most people wouldn't know what to do in that sort of situation. Furthermore, due to their will to fight, it makes us believe that they are working as a team for the first time and becoming friends. And as for Luke, I think this is the start of the transition to the hero, when he swings across the gap with Leia, almost as you would imagine in a classic fairy tale, with the hero saving the damsel. What is the outcome for these conflicts? For the majority of the conflicts, the outcome is usually victory, as our heroes escape danger or defeat the enemies. However, for Leia, all she felt was devastation and guilt as she tried to outsmart the Empire by lying about the location of the rebel base, which nicely links back to being one of the major events of the story, as her character feels it's her duty to lead the rebellion. What is the ultimate impact on these characters? Like I mentioned earlier, for Luke it's quite simple, as it is the step to becoming a hero, as he takes on new challenges, and as we see in the final scene, he gets rewarded as a war hero. But also for Luke, it's trying to understand who he really is, and by the end of the film and the trilogy, we start to see the development of his character when he puts his faith in the Force and finally destroys the Death Star. As for Han Solo, he is one of the more relatable characters, even though he was described as a scoundrel, pirate, rogue, criminal, sweet talker, cynic, and of course murderer, because he did shoot first. But these aren't necessarily the words we associate with a hero, and yet, throughout the film, viewers find themselves more and more drawn to him than the protagonist Luke. This is because of his realistic nature, as we first see his character in the cantina scene, and when asked to help Luke and Obi-Wan, he only agrees when they say they'll pay him 17,000 credits, and we would probably agree too if we got paid that much for essentially giving someone an escort. Furthermore, part of what makes Han Solo so compelling is that he doesn't really seem to get involved with any major thematic aspects of the story. He doesn't believe in the Force in the first movie, and begrudgingly tells Luke, "May the Force be with you," before leaving, just to be nice. And throughout the first installment of the original trilogy, Han is made to be one of the characters in it for himself, someone that doesn't really care for the Empire or the Rebellion, until he realizes that he's doing this for his friends, and this is what I think people like about him most. The fact that he's always been sloppy, arrogant, and tends to mess up. But at the end of the day, he always goes back to his friend, and this is what makes him so compelling. When discussing the ultimate impact of Leia, she portrays parts of the female stereotype, as the first half of A New Hope portrays her as a prize for the main character, and the damsel in distress, as seen in classic fairy tales. But throughout the film, and the original trilogy as a whole, her character gets away from this stereotype, as she becomes a strong female leader, standing up to Darth Vader, and leading the rebellion, creating one of the first iconic power women alongside Ripley from Alien. So the narrative structure shows the chronological events of the plot, development, and impact of the characters throughout the course of the film, and ultimately the impact that it has upon the story and the film itself.